In this lesson video, we will discuss how to edit data, and then one interesting feature in Excel called AutoFill. Let's start with a new blank workbook. Zoom in slightly by holding down the Control key and turning the scroll wheel up. This is so we can see the data more clearly. Now, move the cell selection to B3. You can directly click with the mouse, or you can move the selection with the arrow keys on the keyboard. Then, we want to enter a text data, earning. Notice how the box above changes as we type in the data. This box is called the formula bar. Press enter, then type in another text, cost. Enter. For this one, type in profit, then enter. Now, at this stage, suppose you change your mind. You want to convert this earning text to income. To replace a whole data, it will be quicker to just retype everything. To do this, you can select the cell, then type in income. Then you can press enter or tab or the arrow keys to confirm the data. Now, suppose you change your mind again. It seems better if you add an S letter at the end of each of these words, because later the data that comes in are the total value from several sources of income and expenditure. To add an S letter at the end of each of these words, it will be too time consuming to type them one by one. In this case, it will be faster if we just edit the existing text. There are two ways to edit data in Excel. First, we can select the cell we want to edit. Then, we use the formula bar above to change the data. Click here, then type S. After you are finished, you can exit the formula bar by pressing enter or tab. In this case, you cannot use the arrow keys to confirm the data. Why? Because the arrow keys are now used to move the text cursor inside the formula bar. So just press enter now. Next, we want to edit the second text. Besides using the formula bar above, the second method to edit data is by double-clicking on the cell. With this, we can edit the data directly on the cell. And just like before, at this condition, the arrow keys are used to move the text cursor. Therefore, we cannot use them for data confirmation. You must use either enter or tab or the combination of them with the shift key. Let's edit the profit text also by adding a letter S behind it. To cancel inputting the data, you can use the escape key. You can do this either when editing the data via the formula bar or directly on the cell. For example, you can double-click on this cost text and you want to change it to expenses instead. But then, you change your mind and want to keep the previous costs text. In this condition, you can press the escape key. We can see the costs text appear again without any changes. Now, I am entering some dummy data for these 4 columns in 2 rows. I am speeding up the video as this is not the point of the lesson. Alright, next, we want to enter the names of the months above on the second row. For this, we can use the AutoFill feature. To do this, first, we must type in at least one month's name with the correct spelling. In this case, I am using English because it is the default language on my system. Don't worry, we will discuss how to use the AutoFill for other languages in the next lesson. So for now, type in here January. If you type it correctly, Excel can detect that it is a name of a month. So now, you no longer need to manually type in the rest of the month names, such as February here, then March here, and so on. Just use the AutoFill feature by first clicking on the reference cell, in this case the January cell. Notice that there is a small box in the lower right corner of the cell selection. Click-drag this little square to the right until it reaches column F, then release. As you can see, Excel helps us to fill in the names of the following months automatically. The AutoFill feature can also work vertically. And you can also work in other months besides January. For example, we can do AutoFill from this April to the right. Then, we can pull it down again from this June. And when it passes December, it will automatically roll back to January. If you want, You can drag it again from here to the right or even to the left like this. To delete data or formulas that we don't need, just select the cell, then press the delete button. To delete several cells at once, you can first click drag to make a selection, then press the delete button. All the data and formulas in these cells will be deleted. The last thing I want to cover in this lesson is how to use the AutoFill feature for consecutive numbers. If you enter number 1 in this cell, for example, then you want to use this column as an index or for enumeration. Basically, there should be number 2 here, then 3, 4, and so on. For this, you cannot just drag the AutoFill square down like this, because that will only duplicate the number 1 data in the initial cell to the next cells. To correctly create numbering, you must provide at least 2 numbers. This is so Excel can detect the increment in the values provided. So type 2 here, then select these 2 cells, and click drag this down to perform AutoFill. And now we have a column of cells with sequential numbers. The AutoFill feature is smart enough to detect different types of number sequences. For example, we can create numbering with only odd numbers, or even numbers, or multiplies of 5, and so on. Just for example, if you enter number 2 here, the number 4 below it, then select these 2 cells, and click drag the AutoFill square. Now we have an even numbering. If we input number 5, then number 10, then do the AutoFill, we will get a sequence of multiples of 5. Another example, we can use the number 10, then 20, and if we do the AutoFill, as a result, we will get a sequence of tens like this. In conclusion, you can create different types of sequencing using the AutoFill feature as long as you can provide the first 2 numbers correctly.